better press the bell.
ED1B Pod 3. The History of Music Presentations.
Stop doing it there.
Oh,
Yeah.
history of music. So, Franz Ferdinand, Take Me Out. Song Take Me Out was released 12th January 2004. It was second single from their self-titled debut studio album in the United Kingdom and February 9th in the United States. It was recorded in 2003, written by Alex
Caprano.
and Nicholas McCarthy. The inspiration came from a film called Enemy at the Gates. The song reached top 3 in UK single charts and reached top 3 in modern rock tracks in the US. The genre of music is indie rock, post-punk, dance punk and
Oh yes, it is listed that Ray Davies wrote the whole song, according to Google this is. He apparently wrote the drums, lyrics, guitar and the bass for the track. However, it was only recently that it was sort of recognised as a band contribution. The Kinks recognised all the musicians who performed on the track and they were given performing rights under their record label. This person called Shel Talmy produced the song. The song was written and recorded in the summer of 1964 and then released later on in that year. The genre was rock, however it has a very blues sort of orientated influence to the track. Yeah.
The chats are on Australian They formed in the early 2010s. And they all met at college and decided to make a garage band. Called themselves Chats as a reference to the place they lived called Chatsworth. They wrote the song Bus Money just for fun, no particular inspiration, so the lyrics are entirely random.
So we will came up with the rhythm of our song, our original song, and then Ben kind of played slap chords based on that riff. Harry just like messed around, made some random beats, basically. I just came on melody by humming over the instruments and trying to find what suit it best.
Oh right, yeah. The 1940s. Of course, World War II ended in 1945, as you guys all know, and going from that, they were all, when everyone came back home, I mean, the things they saw, witnessed, and had to do was pretty horrific. So if you actually kind of look at the pop culture of that time, it's all very like happy and upbeat, and trying to like, I almost feel like it's trying to cheer everyone up, if that makes sense. And also in America, especially in the Deep South, slavery and racism was still about, and also Radio Caroline, if you don't know what that is. That's a radio station that was on a boat. There's a film about it called The Boat That Rocked. It's really good. It got taken down by the government because reasons. But yeah, no idea. Yeah, so swing music, commonly referred to as swing, originated in America. The name derived from the rhythm of the genre being referred to having a swing feel due to the emphasis of the offbeat of each bar. I included some pictures because, like I said earlier, it was all sort of like having a good time. It's all about having a good time and being happy and just sort of, you know, forgetting about your mental illnesses from the war, basically. So yeah, here's a picture of people very happy, having a fun time. Jazz did a great full swing. It was usually in a much slower tempo than swing. Swing's very upbeat, but jazz just sort of can be upbeat, but they're generally more sort of like chill, slower tempo. It was very much about like a band and two sort of main people, usually like soloing or improvising over it. and it also popularised ninth and 7 chords and sort of like stabs and stuff on the piano, which sounds really cool. That's popularised in jazz quite a lot. And then blues originated from the deep south in the 1870s from field hollows and stuff like that. That was basically slaves just like getting on with trying to make their life a bit easier. So blues sort of was born. So the general 12 bar blues structure for the genre. Then the walking bass line has another essential part of the blues is the thirds and the fifths at a flattened pitch. If you don't really have that, I mean, is it even blues? But yeah. It's key artists of swing: Benny Goodman, Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, and in jazz got Charlie Parker, John Gillespie, or Dizzy in brackets, and then the blues, John Hurt and Muddy Waters on the set. But yeah. And it's just a list of key songs that they released that were quite famous. So yeah, 1980s come around. Yeah, we have that in the wrong order, that doesn't matter. Police brutality was very present, and people didn't really, especially white people, didn't really recognise it because it wasn't really happening to them. They were just like, nah, that's not going on, until really sort of people started talking about it. So like NWA, of course, rapping about the police, and then there was a video of these 4 police officers of just beating a black guy for no reason, and that came out, and then it sort of brought everyone's attention to it. But yeah, also video games, so video game music was needed, so that happened. And also boomboxes, Walkmans and hi-fi gained massive popularity, so the way people were listening to music was changing quite a lot. So yeah, a lot of new toys were made in the 80s that sort of shaped sound design and synthesis that we know about today. Yeah, it's Yamaha's really cool synths. Roland's drum machines. You hit an NWA, and a lot of other rap and hip hop artists from the 80s and 90s used these 2 drum machines religiously. And that's Moog. I mean, just look at them. It's sick. And then that's a sampler, the Akai MPC 2000 XL, one of the most famous samplers ever made. So genres, obviously, we already talked a bit about NWA, Run DMC, and then of course you had people like Michael Jackson just destroying the game of music. I mean, his music still holds up today and still sounds great. Of course, you have AC/DC, Soft Cell, Frankie Goes to Hollywood with their song Relaxed. Is it just called Relaxed? Just something like that.
Just
and
Relax.
That was obviously gained a lot of popularity from being banned on the radio because it's basically about having an orgasm. But yeah, Pink Floyd, Metallica. Yeah. And key songs, I just wrote every song pretty much by Michael Jackson because every song he did was great.
So the 2010s, or like the new 10s, as people are calling it apparently. I've never heard it, but it sort of is very much changing musically. So you've still got like the key genres, so you've still got rock and roll, you've still got indie, you've still got rap, but the rap game is very much changing, as well as rap being brought into drum and bass as well. So instead of drum and bass being just a continuous rhythm, it is someone is rapping over or someone is singing over this drum and bass track. And rap throughout America and partly in Britain is changing because you've got the grime movement coming back. There is the mumble rap movement, which is sort of just rappers sort of almost inaudibly speaking. And then there's also like the huge impact SoundCloud has had
where rappers are blowing up all across the US just because they've got a hit song that is getting millions and millions of views. And there's also been like a huge indie movement with like punk and indie sort of merging to make sort of one genre and one sort of thing. Like I've got a quote on here by a 19-year-old indie artist who said, "I'm not happy with where rock is going because it's 4 twats in leather jackets singing about nothing," which I think is a very good view of how our generation is seeing rock music being overproduced and not being done properly, with it being 4 people doing the same thing that they've been doing for 10, 20 years, and it's not sounding any different, and they're just trying to copy what has been done before. But we need new artists, and that is what this younger generation of 19 to 25-year-old artists is doing, and they're trying to change the music game completely. Key genres. There's mumble rap, which has artists like Lil Pump, Kodak Black, and there's trap music, so Future, Travis Scott, Young Thug, who are all very huge artists in the US. Grime movement, you've got Skepta, JME, Stormzy, who are all sort of bringing back the retro grime movement from the early 2000s with the sort of like very simplistic videos of them standing in a park or just against a wall and just rapping. And then with the Indian punk stuff, you've got bands like Slaves, who are literally a 2-piece punk band. It's guitar and drums. Youngblood, who is a solo artist, and Wildhood, who originally was one of the rappers in the band Rizzle who has decided he doesn't want to be involved with pop, like punk anymore, and is moving, not punk, with pop music, and has decided he's moving away from it. And then with the SoundCloud era, you've got people like Lil Peep, Post Malone, and XXX, and sadly, the 2 of them that I've mentioned have died from, one of them was from a Xanax overdose, which turned out to be fentanyl, and the other was shot in his car because he was being robbed. The 90s, the time fashion forgotten. Basically, the 90s was very much about grunge, Britpop, a little bit of like rave and like proper old school raving, and the rap game actually changed as well, becoming more like gangster rap, and less rappers are just sort of singing, and they're more shouting and they're more angry about it, with artists like Biggie Smalls, Tupac, who were in rival gangs throughout all of the 90s until sadly both of them died. But with the end of the 80s came the grunge movement, with bands like Nirvana, who were very obviously not quite functioning as you would expect, like say a normal person to, and very obviously troubled and not happy with their lives and not doing well mentally. So they're writing songs about how their generation feels, and of course with the whole drugs abuse of Kurt Cobain and how he eventually died in, I think it was 94 or 95, to having taken his own life. And with Soundgarden and Smashing Pumpkins, who also brought grunge from being sort of underground and not heard of to playing huge festivals like Lollapalooza, Reading, and potentially having some of them at the Monsters of Rock festival in Germany. And then with the British response to grunge ended up being Britpop, which was very working class, very people are living on the dole, not happy with their lives, and they're trying to sort of outlet it with music. And some of these bands are from Manchester and London, East End, West End of London, all growing up in council estates and being quite poor growing up. And I know for a fact the Stone Roses, who are a huge pop punk band, they lived on the dole for almost 3 years before they made it big, and were exclusively making music, were not trying to do anything else with their lives. And I think that's the reason they ended up making it, because they didn't have this worry of, I've got to go to work. It was, I'm going to do music and I'm going to play my guitar all day, every day. to get where I want to be. And then with hip hop, like I've said, there's Dr. Dre, who was formerly in NWA, but they split up due to the money issues and the management problems with Eazy-E and the NWA's manager. And there was Snoop Dogg, who sort of brought into the forefront this slower rapping and slightly more audible rapping, where he wouldn't necessarily rap about being like angry at people. He would rap about enjoying smoking weed or driving around with his friends and having to be really careful with what he was doing in public because he was black. And then there was proper gangster bands who were like proper gangs who would go out shooting people and doing drive-bys, like Wu-Tang Clan, who had something excessive like 25 members, 25 official members in the rap group. And sort of born out of all of this was very, like, a lot of teenage bands who didn't want to be grunge bands but didn't necessarily want to be pop bands. So they sort of made this pop punk genre, which was bands like Green Day, Blink-182, Sum 41, who were all very young artists, so sort of 15, 16 in the early 90s, and just writing about how much they were enjoying school and how much they just wanted to leave home and go touring and go to gigs and just be themselves. Yeah, there's the key artists for this. With the gangster movement, it was Wu-Tang, Tupac, Notorious B.I.G. or Biggie. With Britpop, there's Oasis, Stone Roses and Blur. Pop punk, Green Day, Blink and Sum 41. Grunge, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, Smashing Pumpkins. The list goes on for grunge.
Right. In the 70s, a lot happened in the music world. Just, hippies were a huge part of it, but they really originated in the 60s. They were all about peace and flower power. This led to the beginning of punk in the late 70s. Punk was against rebelling against the hippies,